Greetings travelers and welcome to another Tempo Storm Battlegrounds video. Patch 16.05 has drastically affected the metagame in many ways. Out of all of these changes, the largest was the removal of the most versatile minion in the game, Nightmare Amalgam. With the removal of Amalgam, pivoting between builds is now much more difficult, which has had the indirect effect of increasing the power level of some heroes and compositions while weakening others. Before we get further into the details, make sure to subscribe to the Tempo Storm Hearthstone channel for more Battlegrounds-related videos. Patch 16.05 came with a wide host of changes. The Boogie Monster and Mechano Egg were moved from Tavern Tier 5 to Tier 4. The Beast and Cold Light Seer moved to Tavern Tier 3, and Primal Fin Lookout is now found in Tavern Tier 5. The final change for minions was the biggest one. Nightmare Amalgam has been removed from the pool of available minions. Regarding heroes, Bran Bronzebeard has been removed from the pool of available heroes and replaced with Bartendotron. Regarding specific compositions, this patch has affected multiple different compositions and heroes in some powerful ways. The removal of Nightmare Amalgam has weakened mech, demon, and beast compositions, as well as severely impacted the effectiveness of menagerie builds. Mechs and demons previously relied on Amalgam to carry the poisonous tag, and for demons specifically, Amalgam was the sole way to add a tribal minion with Divine Shield to its roster. Menagerie builds have been left in a unique situation compared to the other compositions. While they can still access poisonous minions via Myexna or any Murloc buffed by Toxfin, they are now forced to pick up an actual demon to complete their composition, a role which was previously filled by Nightmare Amalgam. This is a pretty major nerf, since most minions from the demon tribe are just a pile of stats without extra keywords, such as a Nylon Battlemaster, and minions such as those that tend to do extremely poorly against compositions that run multiple poisonous minions. Speaking of poisonous compositions, Murlocs were the tribe least affected by these changes, despite having the most minions affected in the latest patch. The most detrimental change to the composition was Primal Fin Lookout's relocation from Tavern Tier 4 to 5. This change has served to slow down the mid-game development of Murloc builds by a couple turns, which makes the comp much more vulnerable to being shut down in the development stages due to having a much weaker mid-game state relative to pre-patch. The late game of Murloc builds remains just as strong as before, despite the loss of Amalgam, mostly due to Gentle Megasaur and King Bagurgle. For now, Murlocs appear to remain the composition to beat. Token mech builds were previously trailing behind Murloc builds, and were pretty close to menagerie builds in strength. With the loss of Amalgam, this comp can no longer access a poisonous mech, which means that most of the heavy lifting has to be picked up by a buffed Cobalt Guardian. Mechano Egg being more easily available in Tavern Tier 4 lines up pretty well for Death Rattle mech builds, since much of the important mechs are found in Tavern Tier 4 already. Overall, mech builds look to be in roughly the same position as before, though they appear to have overcome menagerie builds in strength. The next composition to discuss is beasts, and honestly, not much has changed for these builds. The aim is still to go for Mama Bear and Rat Packs, and Myexna will now be the go-to poison minion of choice when reaching the higher tavern tiers. This build is still bottom tier along with demons, and will generally struggle against a well-built token Death Rattle mech build or almost any Murloc build that has managed to pick up a couple poisonous minions. The beast being moved from Tavern Tier 4 to Tavern Tier 3 has definitely bolstered this comp's mid-game, however. It's a very well-statted minion that is now easily obtainable as well as replaceable. Having such a naturally powerful minion at Tier 3 gives this build some breathing room when looking to tavern up and to look for some of the harder to obtain minions such as Mama Bear or Myexna. The final build to discuss is demons, and this is probably the composition that was most affected by these changes. Demon builds no longer have access to a poisonous, Divine Shield, taunt minion, meaning the entire composition is just a pile of stats now, which can be completely dismantled by the various poison minions that are abundant in Murloc and Menagerie builds. While demons can still be good for aiming for a top 4 finish, it remains a struggle to consistently achieve first place finishes with this comp compared to others. Lastly, let's talk about heroes. Leading the pack in S tier, we have Rafam, Nefarian, Yogg, Daryl, and Edwin. These heroes are pretty strong on their own and don't require a specific comp to excel at what they do. Trailing closely behind in A tier would be the Curator, Tier, AFK, the Rat King, and Syndragosa. Of those hero, the Curator sits very closely between A Tier and S Tier, as the Amalgam token allows for versatility and flexibility that some of the other heroes don't offer. In B Tier, we have Elise, Patchwork, the Lich King, the Great Akazamzarak, Millie Manastorm, Lich Bazial, and George the Fallen. These heroes can be seen as being of average power level. The rest of the heroes can be considered below average in that they require niche compositions to shine, or are generally more difficult to perform well with compared to the aforementioned heroes. And that's it for this patch's meta report. What are your experiences with the new meta, and how have these changes affected your playstyle? Drop a comment below, and as always, make sure to like the video and subscribe to the channel to keep up to date with the ever-changing Battlegrounds meta. See you all on the battlefield!